just to have everybody announce who's here and online for the record, and we can go start.
Scott McInerney. Glenn Gerber.
Beth Wallace.
Dave Frederickson. Peter Chanellis.
And Mike Miller.
Online we have Leon Johnson and Katie Aiken.
Leon Johnson.
Yes, I'm here. Katie Aiken.
Great, thank you. The first item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments? Okay. Moving on to the second item is a Spinelli Field sponsorship and fundraising discussion. This is Spinelli Complex, I should say, sponsorship and fundraising discussion. So at our last meeting, I had brought up the just the idea of like the sponsorship for and what that would look like for Spinelli Field. There's a couple things that I wanted to report back on, and then I have a request, or I wanted to have a discussion with the board about a sponsorship component. So we have heard from our attorney, the district's attorney, that the SVSU does have the ability to help us produce or the one-sheeter that I think we've been looking at for information on the field. It will be vetted through our attorney to make sure that we are not like representing. So I think Glenn, we had talked that Glenn was going to work alongside with Mike to create a one-sheeter that we'll send to the administration to just have it checked to make sure that we are putting out, we're okay in what we're putting out information. And we'll move forward with that. The next piece that I wanted to update the board on is that in a prior meeting, and I don't have the date of the meeting, I apologize, but there was a discussion and an approval of crowdfunding activity for selling bricks for the Spinelli complex. It never quite kicked off because I think no one really knew what to do with the bricks if in the event that the vote didn't happen. So I think that group had worked with Renee to set up everything with respect to that activity. So one of the things that we've identified is that we'd like to do a crowdfunding activity with Gold Athletics, which is a company that's already being used through the school district for other, and Mike, you can feel free to step in the fight, for other fundraising activities, and that we are going to be submitting to the administration for approval just a fundraiser form that follows the protocol that the rest of fundraising does for for SVSU. And we will be kicking off an online crowdfunding sponsorship or crowdfunding activity for the benefit of the Spinelli complex that will start as soon as we can roll it out and will end at the vote time.
You know, if Gold Athletics or the Gold fundraiser, is there any they take a 5% or because that's always one of the the things.
Administrative fee. My understanding of the fee is that it is 15%.
15%.
Yes.
Okay.
So if
so I have, and again, this is another just to throw because I knew we were talking about that. I sent an email to a guy that I met at the AD Vermont State AD Conference that does School Funder. That's what it's called. It's similar to like a GoFundMe. They don't charge a fee, for it. It's like a, if a credit card fee, if somebody, deposits a credit card, it's like a 3% or whatever, but no, everything goes.
I'm not tied to necessarily, I know that we're speaking to them because I know that they've, I think we have an existing SVSU or MNU has an existing relationship with them, but it doesn't, I think if you want to work with the Spinelli committee to decide which way we're going to.
I would just say let's go with the one that
gets
the most bang for the buck as opposed to having to, pay a percentage.
One of the benefit, and I'm only asking for your sake, sorry, one of the benefits of that one was that they cut a check directly to the school as opposed to either funding someone's account or something like that. So I think that I would just ask that you coordinate with Renee on it so that we don't make an accounting nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, if they have something in writing about what the services that they offer, I'd be happy to take a look at that, just to make sure that, you know, there isn't anything in the fine print that.
So I reached out to the guy, like, again, this was just someone that I met, so we've been in, you know, email communication, so I will, you know, try to reach out to him tomorrow and then just see if I can get, you know, some details as far as, I had talked to him about it, but again, I didn't wanna like move forward with it until, you know,
Yeah.
I got the okay to say, okay, let's start some fundraising.
Yeah, I mean, I think like based on everything I've seen, as long as we follow policy and submit the form, we can do it. So we can coordinate with the committee and you know, the administration to make sure everything works. But we'd like to kick it off soon so that we have some time. That sounds great. It saves some money too. Does anyone have any questions on that piece of
Do
information?
you have anything, print-wise or email from crowdfunding, the way that they raise, how they raise, you know, what media they use?
I mean, I believe, I have information on it, I think most of it is just about like how they hold the money and put it in, but I believe, it is like an online, probably Facebook style, like shareable, like that, would encourage people to be able to share it and donate.
Comparing two companies, how we think.
Yeah, and I mean, anyone's welcome to work with. I if you can find one that's gonna cost money, that's
Great, that was one of the things that, like, when he was saying it to me, like, he's like, oh, but we don't take a, you know, percentage, they get it from credit, like, if the credit card is used, then they'll get a percentage that way, so,
What's the difference? 15%.
yeah.
that's great. That sounds good, so you can work with them on it. The next piece is that I wanted to talk to the group about is I know we had had a preliminary discussion about sponsorship of the Spinelli complex. And one of the challenges that we've had in trying to identify a sponsor or identify people who commit large funds of money is it's hard to do that when you don't know necessarily that you have a project. So what I would like to ask the board to consider is that the Spinelli committee with the athletic director and the administration work to accept sponsorship pledges from local organizations or people, and so that way we're not taking the funds or creating an issue and tying up local funds for something that, you know, may or may not happen. I mean, hopefully. So, but to work with the athletic director and the administration to decide how those sponsorships are represented on the field in the surrounding areas. I know I personally have had a couple preliminary conversations, and I know other people have as well, but I'm looking to the board for I know we never had, I don't believe that we've ever had this type of discussion before, but I'm looking for the board to vote on whether this would be an acceptable course of action in order to come out and show the community that there's community support behind this bond vote.
When you say round the field, you mean like as like an advertisement of who is sponsoring?
Right. A lot of times when organizations donate larger amounts.
Yeah, you get a banner.
And, you know, unless the board feels otherwise, you know, to me is probably most appropriately decided from the athletic office and the administration.
I think just authorizing the athletic office and administration makes perfect sense. We don't need to get into how it should be.
We have been spending, I've been spending time trying to add signs and add, you know, different things to the softball field, the baseball field, like we're doing it on Spinelli as well for this year. So I do think branding is needed, and I do think there is room to add, you know, other things as well. Like it doesn't just have to be, you know, welcome to Mount Anthony and stuff like that. But I do think there's space to be able to add, you know, some extra things.
I've seen at other schools where you go and around the field they have the banners clipped to the fences or whatever. You can have them decide how we want to do it, but is there are we going to be doing like different size banners based off of the pledges that we receive? Because I know that in some situations, some organizations do that, like the higher the money, the bigger the sign kind of thing.
I mean, I think that's where I'd like to leave it with this, I mean, me personally, but this, for the board to decide, I'd like to leave it with the administration, the athletic stuff, would like to make those decisions.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
If we have a motion to,
I can spell it.
yeah,
I make the motion to, authorize the, pursue private sponsorship dollars,
so pledges.
pledges, and with that, authorize the, athletic director and administration to figure out what that looks like from a, advertising perspective out on the field, in the complex, not just on.
Is there any discussion on this motion?
I would just like to be intentional about that if pledges come in before the vote, how we're communicating those pledges, because I think that's important. I do sense that instilling confidence that, you know, we're doing what we can to bring down the cost of the bond. So being thoughtful about that, and then also just like considering whether restricted sponsorships would be accepted. So if someone says, I want to pledge $5,000 specifically for lights or specifically for seating, is that something that will accept and like change where that advertising goes?
And again, is this something pass muster with the attorney?
I mean, oh yeah, I mean, we're following
Okay.
fundraising policy, so we're fine.
And I would defer to Renee on whether like, specific funding, specific sponsorship areas. I mean, I think ultimately if we're accepting, like in this interim right now, like between now and the vote, like we're accepting pledges. So, if that passes, then those pledges would be realized and, but if it didn't, I don't think we would have, like, there would be no restriction.
Yeah, and I envision, if the bond passes, it's one complete project. So if, people did pledge money, like it's, even if it was $5,000, it's gonna get rolled into the, the lights and the track and whatever. But if in the event that it doesn't pass and then the board kind of goes back to the drawing board and they wanna kind of start piecemealing, I think we have to go back to the organizations that are pledging to then say, if we're doing this piece, can we use this money? And I think that's why when we initially talked about it, just saying that it's for the complex kind of opens that door, so that if we do kind of have to take it in increments, that, the money's there if we do the track first, and then the lights, and then eventually the field, however it rolls out, but.
And there, I mean, we could be having a condition in which a sponsor only wants to commit the funds if the bond passes, because, like a lot of local organizations, like they're looking to provide sponsorship, and they may choose to fund a different organization for the time period too, so I think we can cross that. I'm sure we can.
We have to finalize, like, because I know the votes in like a little bit more than a month. Do we have that finalized wording we're putting on the ballot?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
that's what
it
we
was
saw
what was
this last
approved,
meeting.
You gotta, so this is,
Yes.
Yeah.
I can.
So I'm actually,
Yeah,
It's not good.
printing.
I will look.
And just so you know, Cassie is, so it's been posted in all of the membership member towns. And printing ballots right now to get to Cassie, she's then gonna distribute them to the towns, because they have to be available to voters no later than the 19th of this month for absentee. So, we're in process.
What if Budweiser beer makes a big contribution? Do we have a sign on the fence that says this bud's for you?
And I think that's where, for me personally, I would defer to the administration and the athletics department to make decisions on what signage, unless the board feels otherwise.
We should be getting into that. That's what we have an administration for.
What about best guidance? Whatever, that's.
Or common sense.
You have an 80 or I just wanna make sure I'm not missing anyone before we vote.
No, I don't have any questions.
Was that, you asked a question?
I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't glancing over you guys because you were remote, so I just didn't know if you had any comments before we vote.
I have the question concerning the AD and the superintendent making decisions as to how they're going to manage the display from the money of the people that are pledging for the field. Need to be some kind of standard format or some documentation for that. Other people had gotten into trouble with donors, one donor wanting to get more than this particular donor in terms of acknowledgement for that particular part in there, and some people wasn't happy. So they need to, if you're gonna have them work that, I guess that's what you're asking the AD and the administrator to come to some terms on how they want to manage the sponsorship funds in terms of their recognition. Most of them are looking for some recognition, not all of them, but some of them are looking for something to be displayed.
Great point.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor? Leon and Katie?
Aye.
Great. Motion carries. Great. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay. Thank you for all. And then, right.